Third round of the FA Cup presents us with a rematch of one of Amorim's first games in charge, where Manchester United lost 2-0 and Arsenal pretty convincingly beat United. Before we get into the preview and the lineups for both teams, don't forget to comment down below with your score prediction. Whoever gets it right wins some NGWTV stickers and a pair of Champion Grind grip socks. And if you guys like the series, don't forget to subscribe, as well as let me know which games you want me to do a preview for so you can get my take on the teams and the tactics. So United, not in the greatest form coming in, although the last match against Liverpool was a step in the right direction. And Arsenal, far away from title contention, even though they're in second place. Always a tough team to beat, and if their attacking players show up, very difficult for United to keep a clean sheet in this game. And I think that's where we should start this video, talking about how Arsenal scored both goals against United last time out. 2 corner kicks, bad defending from United, and obviously it's hard to keep Arsenal from scoring if they get enough set pieces. So that's number one. Manchester United can't give up 13 corner kicks, and they better be working a lot on set pieces this week. Let's start with Arsenal's predicted lineup. This is a tricky one to predict because Mikel Arteta does like to rotate players in and out. I don't know if it's because he's resting them or if it's because he hasn't fully found the best lineup, but I think it's probably a combination of both, considering they haven't found their best form and they're in a lot of competitions this season. The way that I think they'll most likely set up is with Raya in goal, Calafiori on the left, Gabriel, Saliba in the middle, and Timber on the right. I do think he likes Thomas Partey, and so he'll start as a 6, and in case he needs to make any unexpected changes across the back line, we also know that he can play as a fullback. I think because it's such a big opponent and Arteta wants to keep his chances alive of winning as many possible trophies, he'll go with the 2 best center mids that we have, and that's Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard. I also think he's been trying to give Martinelli some more time to get back to his old form, and with Saka being injured, Leandro Trossard is most likely going to end up on the right, and then it's really between Kai Havertz or Gabriel Jesus up top, but I have a feeling that Jesus will be the starter for this game. I also think that there's a secondary lineup in case he wants to give some playing time to a few different players, depending on how much he wants to focus on the Premier League and the FA Cup and all of the other competitions. I think he might start Jorginho and leave Thomas Partey on the bench so he could sub him in case someone goes down as a fullback or as a center mid. And I do think that he likes Mikel Merino because he's a smart player, so he might start in order to give Declan Rice some rest. And then, as I said earlier, he might choose to go with Kai Havertz instead of Gabriel Jesus. The benefit of Arsenal's roster is that now there's a lot more depth than there was in previous years, so the rotations allow the players to get sufficient rest between matches. However, I still don't feel like we've hit our stride and have gotten into a rhythm because of all of the changes. The reason I drew it up like this is because in possession, Arteta likes to invert the fullback so that they can create a box in the middle and have an extra player to move the ball, specifically to get it out wide. But I do think that without Saka, Arsenal may struggle to create enough 1v1s out wide, and they probably won't get as many corner kicks without him in the lineup. Now let's look at United's possible 11, and for me this is much easier to predict because I can tell that Amorim is starting to understand his team better, and with a few months behind him, he knows who he wants and who he can trust. And I think in front of Onana, he'll have Martinez on the left after a good performance against Liverpool, and now consistently being on that side for a few matches. Harry Maguire in the middle, and Matthias de Ligt on the right. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Lenny Yoro starts over de Ligt. I think he's much better in possession and in the timing of his tackles as well. The wing backs are pretty much set unless he feels like rotating some players, so Diogo Dalot and Mazraoui. And then Mainu and Ugarte as the holding mids just because they can cover more ground than Casemiro and Eriksen. And I think they also complement each other really well. After getting completely overrun by Newcastle in midfield, I just don't see Amorim playing with 2 older players in there. Bruno Fernandes, also with a great performance against Liverpool, is going to play as one of the inside forwards, and Amad Diallo, who just signed a new long-term deal at United, is clearly his other favorite for that position. Up top is really the only question for me. If you guys have been following the channel, you know my thoughts on Rasmus Højlund. He won't be the long-term choice for United, and although Zirkzee had a nightmare against Newcastle and was subbed off after 30 minutes, I thought the few minutes that he did get against Liverpool, he was actually pretty good. So he might get another chance to start this time around against Arsenal. So how does Arsenal win? And I think it starts with Raya and his distribution. He needs to pick the right times to be a bit more direct and hit the long ball, and players like Trossard and Martinelli need to get isolated 1v1 in wide areas. If they can do this, they have a high chance of getting corner kicks. I think Odegaard is also going to be the key. If Arsenal's backline and midfielders can get Odegaard a lot of touches on the ball, he's the one that can create and slip balls in behind for runners. His technical ability in tight spaces is what really keeps a lot of attacking opportunities alive for Arsenal, at least in my opinion. If he goes missing or United mark him well with Ugarte and Mainu, it eliminates a lot of the attacking threat that Arsenal have. And then as for United, I think they need to build on the mentality that they had against Liverpool. I think this game will be played in a similar fashion as far as Arsenal having more of the possession and United looking for the counter-attacking opportunities. But Manchester United also did a really good job of not forcing the counter and resetting play to slowly build. Their issue was just getting a good ball into Højlund's feet, and it typically died anytime that they were under a lot of pressure. So that's going to be the key. Can they get the ball to Højlund, Bruno Fernandes, or Amad Diallo in those spaces in the attacking third? Bruno was the best player in the Liverpool game, creating 4 chances, winning the most duels at 11, and he had a foot mob score of 8.7. The issue for them is Arsenal's press is pretty good. They'll keep Odegaard on one of the center backs, most likely Maguire because he's in the center, while Havertz or Jesus presses the keeper, but closing off the passing lane to one of the 6s. Then the wingers get ready to press the other 2 center backs, and the fullbacks close down the wing backs. So again, if United can bypass this line of pressure and find Bruno or Ahmad, that's the only chance that I see of Manchester United finding success in the build-up. Unfortunately for Manchester United, I don't see too many alternatives other than that and the counter, and I also think that their squad depth is nowhere near as good as Arsenal's, so if they need to go to the bench, besides Garnacho, who's a hit or miss, there isn't really a single player that can help them. As far as my score prediction, this is definitely hard to do anytime it's United, just because they're all over the place with their performances. You can expect them to come in with a mentality similar to the Liverpool game and perform really well, or they can go back to the poor form they had prior to that game and just have an awful performance. But then again, Arsenal also has not been convincing at all this season, and coming off of that loss against Newcastle, I have a feeling that the game is going to be very even. My final prediction, Arsenal do get into the 4th round of the FA Cup with a 2-1 victory over Manchester United, and I'll also predict that one of those goals is going to come from a set piece. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Catch you guys in the next one.